So today's one of those days. It's actually been pretty easy to stay in the good feeling place. That's on the other. Um, Woke up, started my day as I like to with the music and the right amount of chill time, meditation time, all that to start the day in a positive way, and roughly same time frame that I normally do. Um, and the big thing on the agenda for the day was to donate platelets. So after I got ready for the day, me and the dogs went to walk at the cemetery, a little under a mile in. Since the cemetery is not ginormous, once they see the car, they're good and ready to head back to it most of the time. Sometimes I talk them into a little longer, sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah. But there are three things I do on that side of town that I was going to for the blood center. The blood center, I will take county line to get there. The skating rink that I don't have need to go to anymore unless I'm going to watch my former teammates, and I haven't done that yet. That one is off stop 11, and the other one is the little metaphysical shop over there, and it is off Southport. So today, for some reason, I turned off on stop 11, and then when I passed the rink, I was like, oh shit, I don't pass this way. This is something I do when I'm on, or when I go to the blood center. So had to backtrack a little bit. But I left a little earlier and gave myself extra time today. It's almost like I knew I would be doing that silliness. So I get there and, talk to the girl who's getting me checked in and everything. I was like, I said, well, this is new and unusual. Apparently it's been long enough since I've been here, which I think it's like a month and a half since I last donated, because I got my piercing, so it slowed me down a little bit. But then I saw a thing that was like, ear piercings really are fine and not a problem if it's platelets donation, so I decided to set up an appointment. So then she goes to do the little finger prick to see if my hemoglobin was in a good range to be able to do it. Has to be at 12.5. For my left hand, she did. It was 12.2. It's like, well, that's a bummer. She said, can I try the other side? Well, of course, I'm already here, so might as well. So she tries the other side, and it's 12.1. It's like, well, guess I'm not donating. So, since that all fell through, I was meandering along. Okay, so my favorite thing about the way I'm able to start my day is it keeps me feeling like I'm more connected to my friends in the other levels, if you will. That unfortunately I'm not yet connected with in the physical existence, so probably sound crazy talking about them, but who cares? At this point, there's always worse, and I'm pretty sure I've sounded crazy before, and even been right at the times I've sounded crazy before, so who cares? But yeah, so I was in my good happy little daydreaming place, and seeing all my numbers, dudes. They were all over the place. Of course, the way to the blood center was a way I hadn't taken in a long time, and I just started seeing the numbers right and left. It's like, yep. You know, like I know the ones when I'm going to my class, I know the big ones where they're at, like phone numbers, when this is mailbox, all that fun stuff. Still counts. Thank you. Still counts. And, you know, so since I took a slightly different route, it's like, you see different numbers, and it's like, ooh, they're everywhere. And, you know, I've taken a lot of pictures of just crazy times and things I've seen on, on my radio and my temperature gauge in the car, to my phone, screenshots and such. Just looked at the clock at 5:55, of course. Got in the car at 4:56 and it's 75 degrees. So I had 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'm over here and I'm skating. And then I paused my little video, or I paused my music so I could see about doing a video. And of course, the time I paused it was 5:15, and the song that was getting ready to come on was About to In Flames. It's like, so they're just kind of following me today everywhere, and I like it, so I have no complaints. Don't care if I sound crazy. Like I said, I've sounded crazier for lesser things, so whatever. Earlier I was thinking, okay, my dad had some church thing on. He started, I don't remember, like, if I was getting home with the dogs, or I think I was actually getting ready to leave with the dogs the first time, so it's like, hey, whatever. And when I got back, he's still watching it, and I had my leggings I had to hang up to dry, so I had washed a load of those. Since I skated in them, gotta do that periodically, they're a little funky. And I'm hanging them up, and I'm waiting on the oven to preheat so I can cook my little flatbread, so I can make sure I'm good and fed before I go to the blood center. That didn't work out, so I did eat, but yeah, I was kind of listening to some of what the guy was talking about, and I just kind of had this thought. It's like, okay, I've said many times, obviously, I've also expressed immense frustration in matters concerning the church. And I have said that I know and will, I know and appreciate the fact that church is a legit path. That's what it was, path. But, of course, there's still those things that I find extremely frustrating on that end. But, I was just kind of thinking about it, and it's like, church is a legit path. I will not try to argue that it is not. I will express my feelings when, somebody else is trying to impose their beliefs over the top of my boundaries and disrespecting me because they think their way is superior. And I know that is one of those things where it's the double-edged sword. You gotta watch out because that can very easily go from being and doing the very thing that is the issue or the complaint. And how I've been treated, or how I think okay, and how I've been treated, and I know many others who have been treated much worse even than I have, by that specific entity. And so obviously it comes from a genuine place, but at the same time, if you aren't careful, it can easily cross over to where you're doing the exact same stuff and complaining about, or the very same thing that you're complaining about them doing, which is a pain in the ass, but legit. And trying to balance between those concerns even. Yeah. I know a lot of people that have grown up and walked away from the church. Went to seminary with a girl who is now doing a blog. She's married to a pastor, but kind of no, one of her blogs the other day, I think she was talking about not embracing the pastor wife motif, if you will. Obviously she loves her husband and her kids, and if her kids want to go, well, right now just one of them's old enough, if her daughter is old enough to want to go to church, she will take her, but it is still not her favorite thing to do. Which I totally get that. Yeah, that definitely wouldn't be my path either. But I was just thinking about it on that end. It's like, I feel like, okay, I've always known that, okay, the big thing that I've struggled the most with on that end is because I felt like my existence was entirely contrary / frowned upon by the very church messages that I grew up listening to. And that was the biggest thing. That was the reason I struggled so much with my own identity, even, is because everything that my life was demonstrating for me showed that it was wrong for me to be me. And I don't know, it's like I spent all these years trying to fit into the church mold and be somebody that I really didn't feel like I was, because it's what I was being told I needed to be. And I know several people that have belonged to the church and were great people, and it would probably cause me a great deal of anger if they were specifically targeted in any way because of their beliefs or their lifestyle choices or whatever. Um, and that's people within the church and the good godly people, if you will. I do have a great deal of respect for some of them. Not the entity of the church, not most of the people in the church, because there's just so many that seem to cling to what they're being told and the structures that have existed all throughout time without really thinking of it beyond the church setting. Like the thing my dad was watching, the guy started talking about something about how easy it is to destroy somebody's reputation by just focusing on this one thing and invoking a smear campaign against them. And I was just like, well, that sounds like politics, and it's very much right there. He'll listen to these same people and then contribute to making fun of the side he doesn't like. And it's like, were you not paying attention to what was literally just said? That's frustrating. But anyway, I've been thinking about it. And it's like, I always felt like I didn't belong in that group. And I know for a fact and appreciate for a fact that those are not my people. I don't have anything against the ones that are trying to lead a good life without running over the top of other people that are in some way contrary to the beliefs they believe they're meant to embody. But that way does not work for everybody, and especially when the things that are being taught aren't being made worthy to attempt to follow. If that makes sense. Like, I've never felt like that community was my home. I felt like, especially in my family, of course, mind you, there's not a whole lot of practicing religious folk in my family. The ones that were previously or are trying to be usually fall into the line of, once politics are involved, then it just goes all haywire. It's like, okay, whatever, not my thing. But I think knowing and really not resenting, I definitely don't resent my past. Like, the more I'm starting to figure out what I'm here to be doing and how the pieces are fitting together for me, I know it was a worthwhile experience, and I know it will help me on my journey. Because I remember hearing a story, I think it was Okay, Deborah as a leader, despite being a woman, because God forbid. Um, Even though most of the church will live still like that's a very bad thing. I think I've talked about Daniel before, the whole book, and my life learning lesson with the story of Abednego. Yeah, that wasn't the full story. That was the part that was relevant for me because I liked the name Azariah, and my ex's son's mom had a screen name that was Abednego. It took forever to figure out where she got it from. It's like, I know I've seen this before. I don't know why or where. Despite being in seminary, at the time it finally occurred to me. And then I was having this conversation with my mother-in-law, my ex-mother-in-law, and a couple of her siblings. It just magically dawns on me that Abednego is the name the king gave to Azariah to make him acceptable to him and his. Yeah, it's him mainly. And I was like, oh, this is one of those real big. Oh, that just slapped me upside the head like nothing. But yeah, then it made me realize that I always appreciated the part of the story where Daniel and his friends never lost sight of who they really were, despite what the king was telling them and trying to force them to be. And, oh, hey, that's like America. Because this whole political structure blows, and there's not a damn one of them that cares about anybody but themselves. And it doesn't matter if it's red or blue, or whatever else crap they want to throw in the middle of that. As long as you can throw your big keywords out there, like we know for the red, it's freedom, faith, family, firearms. And don't try to pin me on the blue side either, because I don't like either of them. They are all assholes. They're just talking heads that throw around their big keywords to get the masses behind them. Get the masses acting like asses. Anyway, yeah, but it's like the system tells people that they have to be this one thing, but you don't. So yeah, in fact, if we all started actually caring about each other and not what the talking heads have to say, because they're literally like puppets on strings. Throw out the big keywords and you'll make everybody on your side happy, and you hope that that's enough people to get you voted in. And then, when the next election comes around, you hope you haven't pissed off too many of those people to not get voted back in. If that's your thing. Fuck all of that. Yeah. But that was, the big thing I always liked on that particular story is like it didn't matter what the king said. Daniel and his friends remembered who they were. And lived from that place in spite of any orders that were given that would have negatively affected them had they bought into the bullshit of the acting structure. Yeah. But here we are again, another election year. You know, and all throughout April, I cannot tell you how many of those stupid flyers we got for, oh, vote this guy, vote not that guy. You know, and it was literally every single fucking day. It's like, all we're doing here is wasting trees on assholes. And, well, hey, that's toilet paper. But seriously, like, it doesn't matter to anybody else, right, that we're just, like, cutting down trees to put these assholes' faces all over them and keep sending them out daily so we can sufficiently waste the trees. Well, I wasn't really expecting this to go quite down that path, but here we are. You know what? I'm kind of at the point nowadays. Okay, earlier I was thinking about this whole twin flame thing and talking to my friends that don't seem like my friends on this planet yet. Oh, just because they're not here yet. Anyway, we're still connected. And the way my dreams have been kind of shifting, definitely not going to convince me that there's not something legitimately taking place at that level. So, one of the thoughts I had today was that, you know, if it wasn't for this whole twin flame thing, that, you know, if I talk about it with people actually around me, most of them are going to try to tell me that I'm full of shit. Or, like my one derby friend this weekend who said that the people in her polyamory groups talk about it like it's a cult. And I know you're smart, just be careful. It's like, look, I appreciate the sentiment of concern for me, while you're also telling me that you're pretty sure that what I'm believing is full of shit. I mean, but, okay, if you want to think on that end, like, that's the reason cults ever gain any traction, is because you take something that has a key element of truth that resonates with certain people, and then basically, I mean, they're able to manipulate entire groups of people. Not much different than churches that I've seen, honestly. And, you know, you take the little bit that resonates with a group, and then basically take advantage of that fact where so much of the culture we exist in has taught us that we're not supposed to look within. You got to look to God. You got to look to somebody outside of yourself to fix you. So, yeah, there was a few years ago, probably post or early pandemic-ish, there's this video that popped up as a YouTube suggestion for me. And this kid immediately is talking about how dangerous and bad meditation is. It's like, dude, you're like 16, you don't know anything right now, just shut up. You know, and I know that's not nice. And I even told my cousins, you know, we kind of emphasize the verse way back when about don't let anybody look down on you because you're young. The problem with that approach on the meditation video, but he's talking about how meditation will take you to the darkness, which is not entirely wrong, but the thing is, it takes you to where you have to face the darker or the darkest parts of yourself and see it for what it is, realize it's there no matter how much you try to run from it, no matter how much you try to preach that the darkness is bad and run far, far away from it. You still got it in you, because one does not exist without the other. You cannot have light without darkness. You cannot have darkness without light. So, well, I mean, technically that is the darkness. But there's point is, the point is, if what you're preaching about in the light is completely true, then it has to be able to confront the dark, and not in the approach of the darkness is bad. I mean, that's the hidden parts of ourselves. That's where your creativity lies. That's where the fun parts of the personality get to hang out. And I went to my first metal concert in the past year, and I looked back into it, and I just remember being surrounded by all these people and feeling like, okay, when I went, I was very much having to remind myself that I am safe. The universe has my back. I'm protected. Everything will be okay. The entire time I went, because I went by myself. And when I think back to it, it's like me and my brother love metal, different types of metal, but and he's pretty much the same place I am as far as walking away from the church and not wanting anything to do with it either. But it's like the entire time I was in that crowd, talked to a couple of people I wouldn't have had I not gotten to go, or had I been with somebody else, and a couple random experiences that wouldn't have been able to have. And the big thing was just thinking, it's like the what am I thinking? Oh, thinking a little church girl me way back when, who would have been very anti-metal, except for Skillet, because Skillet was okay. Skillet was the Christian metal. I still got nothing wrong, no problems with Skillet. Seen them in concert a couple times. Still appreciate a lot of their music. But, I just, I'm at 5 miles now. I guess I haven't been skating as long as I've been videoing. Anyway, just remembering how I was trying to believe that everything about those people was bad because that's what the church was telling me, because they like the darkness and blah, blah, blah. But, being there, it's just some awesome people. And I have very much felt safer in groups of people like that than in church settings. That's kind of a big thing for me. It's like, okay, like when I went back to Hobby Lobby to take a few things back today. I still don't like that store. And I feel like it's one of those where, okay, you get a big group of good Christian folks together, and it feels like there's a lot of hostility, negative energies that, hone in on you and basically want to attack. And of course, I'm at the point I don't give a shit about blending in anymore, because I just don't. Every time I've tried to blend in, it's made it worse. So I embrace the fact that I'm meant to be different, and I like that. Like the whole twin flame thing has helped me to embrace it more. And I was thinking earlier, it's like this version of me doesn't exist without that whole experience, because I've had to step up in ways I never would have before, like in ways I actively avoided. Like I've mentioned a couple times now, how I had to take all the posters down off my walls when I was in 6th grade because it felt like everybody was watching me, and I got really paranoid about being watched all the time. Then here I am putting shit out on YouTube, and granted, don't have a whole lot of people watching them right now, but one of these days they might. And I feel like I'm at that point of the one dream where I've embraced enough of my storytelling that it's starting to help me shift into more of what I'm supposed to be talking about, and getting to where I'm actually supposed to be. Am I there yet? No, I don't think 100%, but I'm getting closer, and I'm exactly where I'm meant to be in this moment, because I'm still learning and I'm still growing and doing more of these videos than I was there for a while. And yeah, I think that's encouraging. And that whole thing, it's like I never would have started without basically the universe having something over me like, hey, you want this thing? You're gonna have to do some work. I thought I was doing work my whole life, y'all, and I have been, but apparently nowhere near the kind of work that it meant. And it's been intense. Yeah. Yeah, just thinking about that. There is no light without the darkness. No darkness without the light. Like, well, I mean, technically that's it would appear that way. But if all you ever had to look forward to was just nothingness, then your desire, longing, need for the light wouldn't be there either. I think. I don't know. I have to work with that one. But it goes back to the whole yin and yang thing. One doesn't exist without the other. And they're both very intimately connected. And yeah. Yeah. 40 minutes. I think I'll just go ahead and end it there so I can focus on my skating again. Meandered through a lot more of the thought process than I thought I would today. I kind of figured it would be just fine. I didn't know where it would go, or didn't really have anything set in mind. Did have that church thing that was kind of following me around all day. But yeah, before I do that, so I might as well just make it a habit of threatening to end it and then going on for another 5 minutes, right? What I realized, like going back to the whole metal thing, like me and my brother listening to metal after spending so much time trying to fit into the church. That's like, that too. It goes right along with everything else. It's like, if you lock in on the division and separateness of things, then you miss the fact that what you're afraid of is very clearly demonstrated in the people you refuse to see as human. Like I've heard and seen lots of horror stories of church types that are all out to damn the rest of us to hell because we don't see things their way and don't do things their way. But it's like, all you're really doing in that is just you're making it that much complicated for people to heal and try to be living being who they truly are, really. And that's the bigger complaint I have on the church end, is that it seems to become a structure that forces people to never realize their full true identity, rather than facing it and embracing who they are and realizing that maybe they're into the things they try to condemn to hell. And like those in the metal community could be seen as what's in the darkness of the church community, it goes up the other way too, because that if we refuse to see them as people and just focus on the division, then we too fall into our shadow side, and and not focusing on the person and the personhood, set it up so it's a lot easier to just continue to hate. And it is difficult when you've been hurt by the systems in place to see past that and move on from that. I've complained enough about it in my videos that I think you can see that I'm still working on it. But we're really not all that different. And I enjoy the little messages and nudges from the universe that I get this way, and my repeating numbers, and knowing that my deceased friends and family members are still very active and present around me at all times. Because I feel like church doesn't really want to give you that hope. Um, I think about that a lot when I'm at the cemetery. It's like, most of the people, sorry, I'm at 6 minutes, it's talking to me. Most of the people that go to visit their family members there, not all, but most, don't really think their family members are able to hear them and be present with them just because they're not in the physical. Shit, dudes, that's my whole journey, is realizing that. I was 40 before I realized that 37 is a way that my great-grandfather can check in with me and communicate with me. And I literally realized it in January 2024. Only after seeing it for all throughout, parts in November too, I think, but especially December and January, I saw it enough. It's like there's something going on with this number because it's everywhere. And then when I was at that first class and she's talking about birth dates, it's like I was in the class, but I was kind of in my head in another place too. But the place I hang out more than in my physical reality. I was like, wait a second. I wonder if that was Jump's birthday. Oh, it was. Yeah, it definitely was. And then to realize that the street that I live on, that I've gone, had to go that route when I was driving home from school, back in high school even, and just has always been there. Half the addresses have 37 at the start of them. So I was like, oh. Oh, yeah. And when I'm finding myself with a train of thought that appears favorable, suddenly I'm seeing numbers right and left. It's like, really, all I had to do was look around? This whole time, it's like, I was so closed off to that idea. I thought that, since heaven and hell had to have been real, that there are real places you go when you die, that you couldn't still check in with everybody, right? But really, the physical 3D world in which we live is hell, because we don't realize how connected we are to everything and how much easy access, if we just ask and start not relying only on ourselves to learn the lessons and find the path and all that fun stuff. It's just literally 37. I was 7 when my great-grandpa passed away, and I was 40 when I figured out that when I see 37s, that's one of his numbers, and it means it's right there with me. And it's everywhere. Everywhere. So, yeah. And really, his got my attention. But I don't think any got my attention more than Tyler's did. And it was always 7/19 first because that's the death date. But now that I'm realizing there's other numbers, I see 4/29, which was his birthday. I still see shit ton of 7/19. Also 7/18 because he died in the year 2018. So, and I'm at the point where, like, when I look at the clock and I see the number, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the way you read it. Like, I can see them backwards now too. Like, I just look up at a sign and see 917 and automatically see it mirrored. It's like, huh. It's like, well, when you put it that way, it literally is everywhere. And all you got to do is realize it's not outlandish that the people we care about in a lifetime would want to still stay with us when they're gone from our physical experience. But anyway, I digress. That was another 10 minutes. I'm going to go back to my music and my skating. I think I should be pushing 7 miles now. And I might just, I don't know, I have no idea how much I'll do. I did 7, then 14 the next day, and then 9 yesterday. And I thought I wasn't going to skate today because I thought I was going to donate platelets. And if I donate platelets, I don't exercise afterwards. But since that didn't work out, clearly I was meant to skate, and clearly I was meant to do this video, so here we are. But anyway, yeah, so as always, I appreciate you whether you made it this far or not, and until the next time, see ya.